Welcome to another episode of the TarPack podcast. Thank you for joining us. We're going to start with NC State basketball and move on to UNC basketball, where we will end this episode previewing the biggest game of the year in the regular season, UNC versus Duke. This is round one between the biggest rivalry in all of sports, in my opinion. So let's get right into it in this episode, starting with NC State versus Miami. What were your thoughts and from watching this game, and who's your player of the game?
Well, my thoughts were this was a must-win game. We had to win this. Obviously our hopes are still pretty low as of now for March Madness, but that game we had to win it, and we won it. DJ Burns is having just really an off season. He went 0 for 2 from free throw too.
Only played 13 minutes.
He just is kind of a problem. O'Connell, 3 for 6. He is just a full-on team player. 5 assists, 5 rebounds. He plays for just passing and just being a team player to keep people open. And then Jaden Taylor had a good second half. Absolutely horrible first half. But he scored, I'm pretty sure, 11 of his 12 points all in the second half. And DJ Horn had an amazing game. The real reason we won. 7 for 14, 3 for 7 from 3, 7 for 8 from free throw, 24 points. Casey Morsell finally had an actual good game. 6 for 9, 3 for 4 from 3, 2 for 2 from free throw, 17 points. Bench, Diarra really didn't do anything, 1 for 2. Middlebrooks, 2 for 5, yeah. So Parker, 1 for 1. Overall, a good game.
It's a good game from the Pack there, moving to 14-7 on the season. Moving into the Carolina game, very disappointing matchup, losing to a below 500 Georgia Tech team. To be fair, we're not the only ones that have played down to Georgia Tech. Georgia Tech, honestly, seems to play up to its opponent. Duke, Clemson, and Carolina, they all played. Those were like 3 of their best games of the season. They got wins in those games. But North Carolina does fall, ending their winning streak and now being 9-1 in conference play, 17-4 overall. My opinions haven't changed on this team. It was just a really weird game, a really bad night shooting for both Harrison Ingram and Cormac Ryan. Cormac Ryan's had a really down season. We need him to start hitting some shots if we're going to have a chance to go really far in the tournament. But if he ever finds that, we're going to be really good. Armando was okay. I don't know. He didn't seem necessary to be gobbling up rebounds like he usually does. Like, he would have some rebounds in his hands and they'd be knocked away and stuff like that. But Harrison Ingram's an outstanding rebounder. Elliot Cadeau had foul trouble and fouled out pretty early on. RJ Davis carried us in this game. Without his efforts, we would not have even been close. 28 from RJ. He was a player of the game, just keeping us in it. Questionable call at the end of the game. It is what it is. We honestly did not play well enough to say we deserve to win. But it's just one game. It's really frustrating to lose in that way. The game before the Duke game in that fashion. But hopefully Hubert Davis can turn this into some motivation for the Duke game coming off a loss. And honestly, if that's the case, then let's make it happen. Carolina versus Duke, meeting one of the season. Very similar records. Both top 7 teams in the country. Outstanding programs. RJ Davis and Kyle Filipowski, the 2 biggest players in this matchup. Carolina, I would say, is the majority favorite for most consensus people, and I do agree with that. And I was going to pick Carolina to win this game anyways, but actually, factoring in how weird the Georgia Tech game was and the fact that we should be motivated to bounce back from that, I'm actually more confident in a win on this Saturday than I was previously. And, Duke's an all-right team, but when we're playing our best defensive ball and people like Cormac Ryan and Harrison Ingram are knocking down shots, then it's going to be a long night. So the keys for the game for me, RJ, keep doing what you're doing, and defensively get back in that mojo and that tough guy attitude that we had for most of the season here. And corner shooters have to make shots because they probably are going to – I doubt they're going to go one-on-one Armando on Filipowski, but we'll see. If that's the case, I would expect Armando to have a really good game in this one. So what are your thoughts on UNC versus Duke?
Well, I'm expecting it to be actually very close. I mean, you could say what you want about Duke having a good season.
I agree. This should be a close game.
Yeah. I mean, they both lost to Georgia Tech. I don't know. But, I mean, you know me. I feel like Georgia Tech is actually high quality. If they want to try, they can beat anybody. I mean, what? It's like they lose to, like, Louisville or someone. I don't even know. They probably haven't been playing against Louisville, but they lose to garbage cans like that. But then they beat Clemson, Carolina, and Duke, which is just absolutely insane.
It's like they do seem to try harder when it's like a ranked team coming to their place.
It's like they don't care about winning. But then when they have, like, that number 7 team in the country, like Duke, and number 3 team in the country, like Carolina coming, they're like, oh, yeah, we're going to show that if we try, we would be a top 15 team in the country. But they're like, no, we're only going to try against these teams.
All right, so what's your prediction? I'm gonna go 76-70. Carolina wins.
I'm gonna do 71-69. Most time in these rivalry games, you do better in Cameron Indoor than you literally do at home. But, I mean, I'm just going to say, by offense and RJ Davis, I'm going to give it to Carolina.
71-69 is your prediction.
I mean, obviously, Cormac and Armando just has another bad game. It could definitely go another way. If RJ does not have a great shooting performance, I'm 100% giving the window like literally Duke. I mean, if every player on the team just does horrible, I mean, RJ is going to have to do good like he always does. I mean, every game this season, RJ is the reason that they're up to 3 anyway. I mean, I'm not saying Harrison's not doing things. I mean, obviously we know he can't score, but obviously we know he gets 15 rebounds a game. So, I mean, he's honestly the second most valuable player on the team for just being a dog and a half.
He can score. He needs to body people in the post more. That's what he does really well. Bodies someone in the post, calls them too little, and then goes back on defense.
But RJ Davis is your one consistent scorer, and you're going to need him to at least score probably 20-plus points.
Which he can easily do.
Yeah, he can easily do. But if he had a bad shooting performance, it probably wouldn't be good.
Yes. So that is going to wrap up this episode of the TarPack podcast. Thank you guys for tuning in. We will see you next week for the review of this game along with NC State games. And we will see you guys in the next one. Go Heels.
Go Pack.